Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Stockonomics YouTube channel. If you've never been here before, it's probably because we haven't uploaded any videos. Um, we mainly just, stick to our Discord because we only need what we have in our Discord to really do anything. But I my name's Gage. For those of you that don't know, I'm one of the co-owners of Stockonomics with Whoopty, Trippy, and SWK. Um, I'm pretty much making this video because a lot of people in the Discord have asked me how I trade news runners, what my style like really is, and what I see that makes me want to get into something. Um, and pardon me if I'm looking on my other screen because we're in the middle of the trading day and I'm reading Nuncio bot and stuff, just in case there's something cool. But yeah, for those of you that are not familiar with the Stockonomics Discord, um, we're a big community that basically has anything that you would ever need to trade stocks. We've got Nuncio bot, we've got unusual whales, options bots, and we got a lot more stuff coming. So look forward to that in the future. But um, yeah, so this is my first video ever, so pardon me if I feel like I'm stalling when I'm talking. It's mainly because I'm trying to, and if you see me looking at this screen, it's because I have a notepad with like literally everything I'm going to talk about because I can't keep all of this in my head without forgetting something. But yeah, my name's Gage. I'm one of the co-owners and founders. Um, those of you that don't know how I got started off trading, I was basically an AMC GME trader. I was in college at UGA when I first dabbled into stocks, and I guess I was just scrolling Instagram or something, and I saw a Reddit post about AMC, and I was like, "What is this?" And then I figured out what Robinhood was, and I saw everything squeezing, and I was like, "This looks like free money. Let me try that." Um, Funny part about that is I ended up, by the time I got my money in that and bought AMC at whatever price, it was basically the end of the run, par for the course. But then I was like, okay, well, this is kind of cool. What else can I do here? So um, I found the OTC. I actually found it through Reddit / penny stocks. I think the Discord still exists. It's like a penny stocks Discord, which back then was really popular for OTCs. And I met someone named Archer, shout out Archer, um, who basically taught me my foundations for trading and like why I should read filings, why I should know what the company does, why I should know things about dilution, how to see dilution, blah blah blah. Archer taught me the foundation of all that, and over the years I've built up into that. And so I guess that was around the end of 2021, if I had to guess. um I just now realized that this thing has been up the entire time, but that's fine. Well, moving on. um Anyways, so Archer introduced me to the OTC. um and for those of you that have traded OTC in the past, a good timeline for like when I first started trading is at the end of TS&P. Yes, I missed the entire TS&P run, which for those that don't know, it was like trip 3 to like 5, 6, 7, $8, something like that. It was crazy. They were merging with Humble, HU ticker HUMBL, or is it? I don't know if it's HUMBL right now, but I think it still exists. Anyways, they thought it was the next PayPal. It's not. Um, But I got into the OTC at the end of that and basically at the beginning of LTNC. For those that don't know what that is, hydrogen water. Tom Brady. It's happening. It's not happening. It's actually how I met Whoopty and Trippy and SWK, because I joined the Atlas trading Discord. I think Atlas was mainly small caps and stuff back then, with Zach Morris and all them. But they had an OTC channel, and that's what I gravitated towards, because that's just what I knew at that time. I didn't know any other thing. So I started trading LTNC, ILIS, Sybil, custodian plays from Synergy, Crisa Management. What were the other ones? Acropolis. And then Frank came in and ruined that whole debacle, and now he's being sued by the SEC. So that was interesting. But yeah, so I started trading like the end of 2021. I think I started my first trading account with like $2,000. And I think within a year that was like 120,000 just from the OTC. And bear in mind, beginner trader, no idea what I'm doing. Well, I have some semblance of what I eventually got some semblance of what I was doing because of Whoopty. But if I had the same amount of money I have now as I did then, and OTC was like how it was then, I would be making a shit ton of money right now. Hopefully the OTC comes back. The market goes in cycles. It's been I know there's people that still trade the OTC every day. Shout out Pikachu, shout out Penny Whale, Robot. I can't deal with it right now. The liquidity is not. I don't want to deal with that liquidity. It's too low. But yeah, so I started trading in the end of 2021. At UGA, I was a bio major. I was going to go to PA school, which I did end up doing. For those that don't know, in PA school, I had no time for anything. So for 2.5 years, basically, I could not trade. After trading for almost 2 years. So went to PA school, and then September 2024 was around when I came back to trading full time. So that was last year, obviously. And Trippy had to teach me how, because I had never played small caps, right? So I know that people in the Discord, you think that like I'm like multi-year small caps trader with a ton of experience. I'm not here to feed you no bullshit. Yes, I know what I'm doing now. Yes, I'm successful enough to do this full time, but it's not like I have 5 years of experience or 10 years of experience. There are more experienced traders in our Discord. I'm not afraid to say that. It's like, who cares? It's not like I have like an ego about it or anything, and it doesn't. In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't even matter. So yeah, I came back during September 2024, and then we started Stockonomics, or me, Whoopty, Trippy, and SWK started Stockonomics, I think at the end of January, but I think it was kind of private until we opened in February. I think we opened to the public in February. And shout out SWK and Whoopty for making all that happen, because this Discord would not be where it is without Whoopty and SWK. Whoopty has and continues to do a lot for this Discord, and SWK basically set up the entire Discord and got everything squared away, and runs the options room basically alone. Not to say that Whoopty and everyone else can't do options, but he's in that shit daily. And pardon me if I cuss. I got a sailor's mouth, but those of you in the Discord know that. But yeah, so anyways, enough rambling. A lot of you have just asked, like, how can you explain how you trade small caps news runners. So here we go. Basically, you get a good night's sleep. I think you should exercise every day. This is the preface. Exercise every day, get a good night's sleep, make sure you're well hydrated. If you got a headache, if you feel sick, blah, 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 don't trade. Oh yeah, this is not financial advice. I'm not a licensed financial advisor. So take everything I say with a grain of salt, because I don't have a license to tell you what to do. My results aren't typical. If you've never traded before, do not follow me blindly. Trade in a simulator. Shout out Ross Cameron. I completely just ripped that from you. But Ross, you're a great trader, so I hope you don't mind. Anyways, wake up. I use Webull. So I use Webull to trade and execute my orders with Turbo Trader. Basically, it's hotkeys, right? And with Webull, you can trade 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. Like there's no limit to when you can trade, because I think Schwab and IBKR maybe and E-Trade is like they open at 7 a.m. and Robinhood too maybe. But Webull does 4 a.m. And why is 4 a.m. important? Because sometimes I play stocks after hours that might gap up overnight. And if I want to be able to sell then, I need to be able to trade then, obviously. So I use Webull. Anyways, I wake up, look at the top gainers list. Okay, is the top gainers list active? What does that mean? Are there a bunch of stocks that are up like at least like 70, 80% or higher? Like if there's like 2 or 3 stocks already at like 80% running that morning, then I know it's going to be a good morning, because most of that stuff probably doesn't have news, and it's probably just like a 4 a.m. pump or a continuation from the day before. But there's a lot of people like FOMO buying and shorts getting trapped and it's pushing higher, blah, blah, blah. So that's like my gauge of like, okay, how's this morning going to be? Do I have a lot of new top gainers since 4 a.m.? And obviously some of those would be previous day runners going off continuation. But the news cycles go 7 a.m. Well, the main news cycles go 7 a.m., 7:30 a.m., 8, 8:30, and 9. Sometimes I'll trade news at 9. It has to be, and people that have been in the live know this when I say it, it has to be really good news, because usually, if you think about it, at 9 a.m., a lot of people that were trading are no longer at their computer, or maybe they were on mobile trying to trade pre-market, which I would not recommend, but people do it anyways. They're going to work, they're driving to work, they're just getting into work. So like you're going to have less volume looking at those news runners, right? So it's going to take something really good to get a good move out of it by 9 a.m. So usually I cut off my trading at like 8:45, usually, unless I'm holding runners of something. But yeah, I mainly trade pre-market and after hours. I don't like trading intraday as much, because in pre-market and after hours, the level 2 is much thinner. There are less algos you have to deal with, whether that be short or short walls and people just dumping people or algos or whatever, just crashing the bid out of nowhere, stopping people out, then just ripping it back up. It's like I'm the type of trader where it's like, if I see a move that looks like it's killing a chart, I don't want to be in it. But a lot of times what happens during the day is they'll make it look like the move's about to happen, then they'll make it look like they're killing it, do a liquidity sweep, swipe the lows, stop everyone out, liquidity, boom, go to new highs. And that shit pisses me off the most. And so I just say, nah, I'm just not dealing with that. For those that don't know what I'm talking about, when I say like the level 2 is much thinner, think about it this way. Imagine you're like walking down a hallway at your high school or something, and it's between classes and there are hundreds of people in the hallway and you're having to weave in and out of them just to get to where you want to go. and it's slower, right? It's gonna be slower for me to walk from point A to point B down a hall if there's 300 people in the hall, as opposed to during the middle of class when no one is in the hallway and I can just walk straight down the hall. Maybe I have to, dodge a caution wet floor sign, but that's what I mean by thinner. There are less orders on the level 2. There's less shares you have to get through to move the price more. And that goes both directions, but when you're playing news that is positive, that means the price will go up faster, usually. In volume algos, I'll say this all the time on live and pre-market. Volume algos, I personally think I know when a volume algo is on, because on Thinkorswim level 2, all of the bids and all of the asks will be like the same price, and they're flashing, and the volume is really big just in general on the 1 or the 5 minute. So that's when I say volume algo, usually those are the ones that I'm talking about. And they're usually the main runner. The main runner usually has a volume algo on it. Oh, there goes SogP. So the thing about small caps news, referencing back to OTC, these stocks are basically OTC stocks with more liquidity and catalysts. That's how I view small caps. We call it small caps versus OTC. In reality, small caps are OTC stocks with more liquidity. That's all it is. So what does that mean? That means they're all scams. 99% of these stocks are never going to become a mid cap. They're never going to become a blue chip. They're going to delist within 3 years or 5 years. They're going to dilute on your head over and over again. They're going to offer on you over and over again, because they're money vehicles. That's what small caps are. Companies uplist to the NASDAQ, to the NYSE, to print themselves money. It's basically what they do, because they need money to operate. And, for example, biotechs need money to fund their clinical trials and all their other stuff. How are they going to get that money? Okay, well, let's list on a stock exchange so that my stock can be traded, and let me give shares to someone for money, and then let me pump the stock, let them dump on the liquidity, and then let me dump on top of that with my own dilution from an S1, and then I get even more money, and then I can just reverse split and do it all over again. That's the life cycle of small caps, basically. And specifically at Stockonomics, I will say, we're different, and there are a lot of and people that trade small caps know what I'm talking about. There are a lot of discords that just want you for your volume, because they need your volume to move the stock, basically. But we don't really, because we're mainly news based. I will and people in the Discord can vouch for this. Me specifically, I will give you guys swings that I think are good, but I don't give them a lot. I have SHPH in the trading floor right now, because it's less than 10% risk from all-time lows. A recent reverse split bio, they have not PR'd since a private placement that was at 360. So to me, that's a good risk reward, and it's a 1 mil float. So if they get news, hey, it might go from $3.60 to $5 like that, and that would just be a great trade for us. What I'm trying to say is, we play news, so we don't need anyone's volume. If we had 20 people in the Discord, it wouldn't matter, because we don't rely on other people's volume for moves. So if that's what you're looking for, because I know a lot of places just spit out tickers. Boom, 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 boom. Slap, 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 slap. That's not what we do. And that's not what we'll ever do. There are people in our Discord that will mention tickers, but me, Whoopty, Trippy, SWK, we're not going to do that. That's just not what we do. Usually, if I'm playing something, it's because it has a lot of volume already, or it has news behind it. Um, so, what type of news am I looking for? That's a big question that people ask all the time. What type of news am I looking for? There are a bunch of different types of news that are good. I've got a list right here of things just off the top of my head that when I see this stuff, I think this might be good. Specifically, biotech news or medical device news. Phase 2, phase 3, positive top line data, blah, 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 meets primary endpoints, positive, anything cancer, positive rectal, um, pancreatic cancer, AML, CML, which is like leukemia, anything cancer, anything positive top line, met primary endpoints, phase 2, phase 3 cancer, good, very good. Doesn't mean it'll run, but it means that the odds are better in your favor. It all depends on the ticker, and we'll get into that in a little bit. For other things for biotechs, FDA approvals of drugs, FDA orphan drug designations, those will run usually, or I'll at least try to play those. It really and again, it really depends on the ticker and your experience just trading these over and over again to know which tickers are good and which ones aren't. Blue chip collaborations. You can say any blue chip, Alibaba, whatever, but the main one is NVIDIA, right? On live, I'm always like, please, just give me an NVIDIA PR, give me an NVIDIA PR. Why am I saying that all the time? Because I know if there's an NVIDIA PR, we will make a lot of money because it's gonna start flying. Recent examples: LiDAR, LIDR, PRFX. That was an NVIDIA Connect. LiDAR was like an actual collaboration with their like LiDAR sensors or something like that. Navitas, NVTS, the semiconductor company. All three. Those are just off the top of my head. There's probably more. I think EKSO Bionics a couple months ago also squeezed off NVIDIA. BMR does NVIDIA PRs sometimes. Basically, if it has NVIDIA, partners with NVIDIA, NVIDIA Connect program, NVIDIA blah, 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 you want to be looking at that. Paul. Let me... Hold on. Okay. Theme-based news. So recently we've had special dividend news that has been running stocks, right? For those of you that have been trading recently, you got MBY, SOGP, UUU, and I got UUU pulled up right here. I'm calling that a mini theme because I'm now starting to see other companies like CYCU this morning and VIVK start talking about dividends. Dude, Paul. Crypto treasuries ran in the summer, right? So you had like SBET, SRM, BMNR, ATNF. All those ran pretty big. And there were about 90 other ones too that I don't remember at this point. But you basically just need one stock to run really big off some type of PR that hasn't been running recently. And then all these small cap companies will just be like, oh yeah, I'm that too. I'm that too. If you remember back in January, the DeepSeek AI thing, remember when all the small cap companies would be like integrating DeepSeek into blah, 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 blah. And they did that for like 2 weeks until it didn't work anymore. And it was a lot of the China tickers too that did that. But yeah, theme-based news, you always want to be cognizant of that. And then 13Gs, 13Ds on low floats, even 4 and 4s as well, but mainly 13Gs, 13Ds. If they're like above 50%, or if they're from someone important like Stephen Cohen, I think Stephen Cohen is 0.72. The big biotech one, 0.72. That's what sent IBVD. Let's see if I can pull it up. I'll just pull it up right here. IBVD. This hit after hours the other day. Was that it? Yeah, that was it. Yeah, so see, I'm pretty sure I got like almost bottom fills on this. They did a 0.72 13G after hours, and as you can see, it went from like 60 to $1.20, and then the next morning continued all the way to $1.50 just off of 13G. Didn't even have a news headline. It was just people know that 0.72 is a good bio company or bio fund that invests in good stuff and has a good track record. So they pay attention to stuff like that. And that stuff comes with experience. It's like sometimes you should slap those. Sometimes it's kind of hard to tell, especially if it's like a no-name ticker that you haven't really seen run before. But anyways, why does the news matter? Why do I say sometimes that this stuff matters, but at the same time, it doesn't always matter? One, companies are going to dilute on your heads. Doesn't matter what the PR is. You should just have in the back of your head, they are PRing to bring liquidity to dump shares. The question is, will they let the stock run before killing it? That's the grand question that I wish I knew the answer to before I got into any stock with a news catalyst. Because, you need to know what you're trading. That's why when there are people that stream on YouTube and stuff that like, they don't know why a stock's running, in small cap specifically. They don't know why a stock's running. They're just trading the volume. That's fine. In my mind, I think you should know why the volume is there, because what if it's like the dumbest headline ever, right? What if it's like they did an offering or something at 20 cents a share and the stock is $3, but for some reason it's pumping up 20% in the first 3 minutes after the PR? Do you really feel confident in buying that? Because if you're not looking at the news, you may think that it's like, oh, this is going to continue, this is going to keep going. But then it just knifes on you, and you're like, well, why did that happen? Well, maybe it's because they did an offering, and for some reason, someone slapped it. And then for some reason, you didn't read the PR or the headline. And now, in your mind, for some reason, you're bagged. Like, you need to know why a stock is moving. It's like really important, especially if you're trading pre-market and after hours. And to go off that, just because you have a good headline does not mean that you will have follow through or good continuation. In slower months, there's obviously going to be less follow through, less second and third legs, but also even when you have good news, it doesn't mean, and like it could even fit the categories I was talking about earlier, like positive breakthrough top line data, met primary endpoints, biotech. Here's an example from today. ASBP. What was the headline on this? We traded this morning, and this is dilution tracker, and this is what I use for reading filings and stuff. It costs a good amount of money each year, but if you're a full-time trader, I think it's definitely worth it. If you're serious about it, and you can just write it off on your taxes. Just tell your accountant, just be like, yo, this is trading education, brother. Write this off. Yeah, so as you can see, this morning at 8:30, they PR'd. Aspire Biopharma announces breakthrough final results from a clinical trial of investigational new sublingual aspirin product for treatment of suspected acute myocardial infarction, which is a heart attack. Good headline, right? Like, it sounds like a really good headline, right? And it is a good headline, but, and I didn't know this when I bought it this morning, they basically PR'd the same thing on the 18th, and look at how the day ended. on the 18th of August. So it went from like 38 to 88 or something, and then it opened at 69 and went all the way down to 50s and ended the day at 59. Huge red candle off good news. What does that mean? That means they're diluting. That's what that means. That means they're diluting. Because like look back here on May 28th. I don't even know what the hell this is. Like I don't know why this even moved the stock, but look, 24 to like 70 off. Oh, 700 million volume. Well, that's why. But it was green, so in my mind they're not diluting. They didn't dilute there, at least, but they did dilute here. Maybe they diluted a little on the way down, but when you get these big volume red days on a news catalyst, especially, and the chart is basically killed after that, or it looks like it's killed, they're diluting. But this is what I mean by like you can have good news that initially works, which was partly due to Trippy lizard. He was pressing the button over and over and over again, slapping it. But then look, so it took 758K shares, right, to go from 58 to 82. Very next candle, 1.2 million shares, all straight down, just straight down. And then people were like buying the dip, thinking, because people thought the news was good, right? So they're buying the dip, thinking it's going to go higher. Companies just dumping. 1,700,000. And then all the people that bought right here, while the company is actively dumping on us, all the people that bought right here get stopped out right here. And it just absolutely free falls. And then I guess they finished whatever dilution they had because it's basically went sideways since. But pair that dilution with the headline basically being the same, and it's basically repeat news at that point. You know, it's not a good combo for like what could happen. You have to know how a ticker trades to fully understand what you're doing. Yes, this mainly comes with experience, and like, what's an example of one that trades like crap? Silo trades like crap. I just ignore every Silo PR. Look at this, guys. You see all these big volume. Let's go all the way back here. 8 a.m. PR. Silo PRs. Oh, they're slapping. Dead. Sold off all day. Okay. Here they go again. They PR'd. Slap. All the way down again all day. And then look, here we go again today. PR'd again today, I'm pretty sure. Let's see. I'd be willing to bet. Oh, look, they PR'd today. Australian patent covering licensed PTSD drug candidate. Who cares? First of all, it's a patent. Patents don't really do well to begin with unless patents have been running. But as you can see, pop, drop, and has went red on the day still. So like, you have to know how a ticker trades. And I can't tell you, I mean, I can tell you actively on voice from my experience how I think tickers trade. But like, if you want to do this independently, you know, without needing me and my input, because, you know, I'm not always going to be there, you have to learn how these tickers trade. You'll know that certain tickers PR relatively often, and you'll see what they do every time they PR. Maybe they fall, maybe they don't. Maybe they pop and drop. It's gotten to the point where I know most tickers, if I see them PR something that's like relatively decent, I might pull up the chart to see if they're going to let it run, but I'm not going to like instantly enter like I do on some, because I know that they have a history of doing shit like this. Like Silo, I will not touch Silo. Silo's PR has to be amazing, and I need to see it not instantly dump within the first 5 minutes for me to even think about entering the trade. Whereas with something like UUU, for example, right here, I think this was a special cash dividend. So I've actually never really traded UUU, but I saw the news, which was declares one-time special cash dividend of $1 per share. First of all, we had NBY and SOGP, and this was on Monday for UUU, or Tuesday because Monday was Labor Day. But on Friday we had SOGP that ran and squeezed off the special dividend. So when I saw this PR, I was like, this could work. But I didn't know like anything about the dilution or anything. So when I pulled up this on Dilution Tracker and I see low on everything and I see it's a 1.8 mil float, I'm buying. Like I was lizard pressing the buy button. And is you here? Yes. Okay. So like I was buying like 385s right here. I was buying in this area. And oops. Like I was buying in there, and the whole time I'm wondering, why is this not going? Like why is this not going? And then eventually, it caught on, I guess, and people started to realize maybe there was a tiny bit of dilution, or like maybe there was a hard resistance there from before. I have no idea. Maybe it was a big resistance or big support previously that had turned into resistance because the price had fallen below it. I don't know. But as you can see, it started squeezing. And it continued. And it's still flagging out right now. We're on day 2 of this move. And, if I had to bet, it's going to give a day 3 type move, because once we get over this area right here. Oh, wait, that's $4. Where am I? Yeah, okay, yeah. I was like, what? I was like, we're way above that. Yeah, once we get... obviously, this looks like a flag on the 4-hour. It's bounced the 9 EMA perfectly. Oh, yeah, for those that are wondering what these clouds are, these are Ripster's clouds. I'm a big supporter of Ripster's clouds. They're free. You can, put them on your TOS. They're not anything special, really. They're just the EMAs, but visualized. Because, I don't like 20 lines on my screen, right? So I'd rather have a cloud that's shaded a color, and I know what the cloud is. But this is the 9 EMA. The top of this dark green cloud is the 9 EMA for me, and the bottom is the 21. So look, it's bounced the 9 EMA perfectly. It's flagging again. If you had to think into the future, what is the 9 EMA going to do? If my VWAP is right here, which is the weekly VWAP's right there right now. If my 9 EMA is going to eventually do this tomorrow, for those in the Discord, what do you think is going to happen? What happens when the 9 EMA pushes through VWAP? Up. That's what happens. And you can see that. I bet you that happened on IPDN today with what Trippy was playing. This one actually did not. So the 9 EMA was going up, but this is VWAP and this is weekly VWAP. I guess VWAP was riding the 9 up as well, but we got that hard rejection today, which I have no idea. It was like $1 million share seller. I don't know if they were spoofing or if it was actually a huge short. I didn't get to see on the tape if they got bought out, but they blew through 12 and broke the day 1 highs and then instantly dumped it and halted it down. It was disgusting. So that's why that doesn't happen usually in pre-market. That was intraday. That's another reason I don't like intraday, dude. It's just weird stuff like that. It's just, I don't care to play that. But yeah. All that to say, a ticker can have great news, but if it has a history of it being a shit company and it doesn't trade well, why are you trading it? why even risk your money? If you know a ticker does not trade well, don't get baited by a PR and in your head think, it's going to work this time. It's going to work this time. Maybe. 1 in 100 chance. That just reminded me, on the topic of 1 in 100, a lot of you in Discord, well, I don't know how many of you, but especially for new traders try to hit the home run every single time, right? They just want to buy the PR as soon as it comes out, and then they want to hold it for 3-4 hours and get that huge winner. And when the market's hot, yeah, that happens a decent amount, right? But why would you play at a 1 in 100 odds to get that home run when you can play at 1 in 10 odds to get a 20% move and just be done? Because like, look at you. I told you I was buying 380s, right? I was scaling out this entire move up. I was scaling. We got to like right here at 20%. I'm already scaling out. Like sell half up here, sell half. At that point, I'm like at 25% of my normal position. So I capitalized on a 20 to 30% move, as opposed to if I had bought here and I'm like, oh, I'm going to hold it all day because I know it's going to go up, right? Now I go from up potentially 30, 40% all the way back down. I can't see it because my chart's too small. Let's just go to right here. Oh, okay, yeah. You lose 31% of that move because you're like, oh, I'm holding for glory. It's gonna go higher. Because you don't know if it's gonna go higher, right? You just know what's happening right here and right now. You can think it's gonna go higher. But now you went from, say you held it all the way up to the top, maybe you made 40%. But then you're like, oh, it's squeezing, it's gonna go higher, it's gonna set, people are gonna take profit, it's gonna bounce the 9 and VWAP, and then it's gonna go higher, I'm gonna get like 70%. You go back down to 7% gain. You just wasted 33% of your gains for no reason. And did it continue going up? Yeah, it eventually did. So I guess if you want to trade like that, you can. But why not? Here's what I say to you guys. Why not buy here, scale out this whole move right here, and then when it gets to support, because this is the 1 minute chart, right? So this is the 5 minute. So this move right here is this move right here. And what do these stocks always usually follow? The 9 EMA, right? On the 5 minute. And we preach that all the time. You buy here, you scale out here, you let everyone sell out, everyone that FOMO'd, they get stopped out, blah, blah, blah. You start soaking the 9 down here. You know, it looks like this is all in retrospect, but this happens every single day. You're buying down here. Because what's that? It's the first pullback on very good news to a major support. And then look, you maybe you got a 20, 30% move out the first time. You buy here. Say you buy late. Say you buy right here. That's another 50% move in 45 minutes. Just think about it. I'm a base hits trader. I don't go for home runs. I don't care. If I can get 20, 30, 40% over and over and over and over, why would I do a 1 in 100 odds for a 300% move? Because A, I have to sit there and think about it. That's mentally taxing. B, I have to watch the chart do some bullshit during the day because you know what's going to happen. They're going to halt it up. They're going to halt it down. They're going to make it look like it's dead. They're going to take away all the volume. They're going to be shorting it, and then all of a sudden, randomly, boom, now it's going higher. You could have saved yourself all the trouble and your day. Just take your 40% and run, dude. All I'm saying. Trippy's probably laughing at that part right there because Trippy's the home run trader. And when it works, but when it doesn't, it's pretty bad. Anyways, sorry, I'm reading this notepad because I've been rambling and I've covered a lot of the stuff. What's important to know about a ticker? Like I said, how does it trade? Does it pop and drop often? Does the company actively dilute? And to see dilution, it's kind of like with Silo. You have to see what it does on news. Also, in the middle of the day, if you see like random big share blocks just being dumped straight into the bid, and the price is just sinking lower and lower on the daily for like 3 weeks straight, they're diluting. And there's a short algo on it, and they're just taking advantage of it. So, keep that in mind. If it has big volume days, but the candle ends completely red, and they're diluting. What else is important? Float. Lower the float, greater the volatility. Less supply, more demand, more the volatility. It can be a good or bad thing because, like this morning with Artle's like a 600, 700K float, and it's like really high price. So there's a lot of like insider ownership, and it'll move $4 in 5 seconds, but it can also fall down $5 in 4 seconds. So it's like, you need sustained volume to be confident and stuff like that. For me, I think 1 to 5 mil floats are like a golden spot for news runners, especially with biotechs, because a lot of the biotechs they'll put out news, they'll dilute, they'll reverse split, right? And this is kind of like with SHPH. They've reverse split. They did a private placement after the reverse split at $3.60 a share. So now they're sitting at almost all-time lows with cash and someone that just invested, and I'm waiting on news because I know that they want to dilute again, because this is the cycle of how it is. So I really like post-reverse split plays. And then obviously volume is king. If a ticker doesn't have volume, I'm not playing it. Simple as that. If a ticker has volume, but then it starts stalling, like on the tape, you see big blocks being slap, and it doesn't move. In my mind, I think they're diluting, or someone's like shorting hard, or a lot of people are shorting hard. Usually that's on tickers that people know are pretty bad. If it starts to look like it's moving, shorts will hop on it pretty quick. That's just something that comes with experience, and you just have to see with your own eyes and see it happen over and over again to really get it. You know what I mean? I implore all of you to learn to read filings, because it helps you understand what you're looking at. And like I said earlier, dilution tracker is my go-to. I think it costs like $1,000 a year or something, but just write it off on your tax, dude. It's trading education. Same thing with Benzinga Pro. I use Benzinga Pro for my news. I also think this is like $1,000 or something a year. Just write it off. Who cares? This is how I see news and filings as they come in. And, like for example, BTBD. It's like after hours, for example. You guys that are using NunTioBot, I love NunTioBot. I think NunTioBot is great. But you guys will sometimes ask how do I see the PR before it hits NunTioBot? NunTioBot is a volatility bot. So something PRs, it gets volatile volume or a spike in volume, it'll shoot it out on NunTioBot, right? But I can see what the news is before the bot puts it out sometimes, because unless an algo hits it up and spikes the bot itself, maybe it's a filing like this isn't one that would work, but I mean, it's a merger 8K. But say BTBD did not PR this morning and get halted and said they had a merger, and this came out and I looked at it and I saw merger agreement on September 2nd entered into an agreement and plan of merger, I'm slapping this without reading anything else. And if other people have not opened the 8K and looked, it's probably not going to be on NunTioBot yet. So it's something to think about. Doesn't mean that you have to have Benzinga Pro or that you have to have some type of news thing. I'm just trying to tell you that NunCioBot is giving it to you after the volume has spiked, which is a good thing because you don't want to play something that doesn't have volume, right? So this is just like a minuscule like detail of like how that works, right? And why some people get in before the bot. Why should you learn to read filings? Because tickers can have tons of dilution. Let's just go look at Silo. Look, overall risk high, offering ability medium, overhead supply. This is the important one right here. I don't really care if you need cash. If you're going to offer, you're going to offer, right? But overhead supply potential is the same thing as potential dilution. You know, how hard is it going to be for a ticker to move? Because I care about the volatility and how easy it is, right? So, you know, if they got all these warrants at 60 cents that are registered from May 2025, I mean, they got 5 million shares of warrants just there registered at 60 cents. And what's the price at? See, these are already in the money. So like this PR this morning, they probably dumped some of those warrants here. That's why it just went straight down. Let's look at the 1 minute chart. 100,000 shares, 100,000 shares. They were just selling, and then buying stop because everyone knows that Silo is a piece of crap and never runs. And then it just sold off. They basically dumped the warrants, or dumped a portion of those warrants, if I had to guess. A lot of people will say, oh, the S1's not active. They have to file an effect for this S1. A 424B5, that's just an amendment to an S1, right? Oh, they have to affect that, guys. They can't dilute until you see the effect. Wrong. A 424B5 is just a supplement to an already active S1. And S1s can be effective for like 3 to 5 years or something, I'm pretty sure. At least 3 years. So like they could have filed an effect on an S1 in 2022, basically. And this 424B5 is just a amendment to that. They changed something. And they can just already be diluting off that. So like don't get caught up with like they have to affect it. You have to like really make sure, because sometimes they have old prospectuses that are already in effect and they can just dilute it anytime. That's why you get stuff like ASNS. Look at this. See this big red volume candle? This was supposed to delist, right? It was supposed to delist. It didn't. They put out a PR. They put out a PR. It opens, or at market open. It looks really good. Where's it at? Look at this. PRs. Oh, it looks really good, really good, really good, really good. Biggest volume candle of the day right at open. 17 million shares, 12 million shares, both red candles. And then it just basically just went down. And then another huge knife. And then it's down another 13% today. Why? Well, look what they did. They PR'd to exercise warrants. And that's what these companies do. They are cash vehicles. We are trading them for profit, but they are cash vehicles. They're how the company gets money. So filings are really important. And it can protect you and let you know, when to sell and stuff. Another reason filings are important, you can predict future catalysts based off filings. Everyone in the Discord knows that me and Paul talk a lot, right? We were talking about Move, or I was on the phone with him, and we were talking about Move, and we noticed that they filed a reverse split in like a shareholder meeting, but they were delinquent on their listing requirements, and they had to appeal. So we knew that Usually when a company files a delinquency filing, we know that they're going to appeal, and it's very rare that NASDAQ does not grant a stay for suspension of the appeal. So we were buying 60s, right? And it's a I don't know if this has changed, but and now it's a 6 mil float, and it was at 60 cent, and we could tell by how it was trading intraday that it was really, really, really thin. And we knew, because we had read the filings and that they were voting on a reverse split for September 22nd is when they were voting, we knew that that was probably part of the plan that they had presented to NASDAQ to gain listing extension. And what happened? On the 28th last week, Movano Health granted listing extension by NASDAQ. We were buying here. 60s. It made a move to 90s, I think, after hours one day. We sold. We bought 60s again. And then if we go here, yeah, see, they were selling it off, so we were buying 60s again. And look at this. I do think this was a stroke of luck that it worked out like this, because there was another ticker that I can't remember off the top of my head that squeezed this after hours off of a listing extension. Oh, it was Coot. I think it was Coot. Coot had squeezed like at 4 p.m. off a listing extension, and then Move got granted the listing extension at 4:30. And then look, 60 to $1. And went to $1.30 the next day. And then I think, yeah, it started running again today, back to new highs. So, reading filings is important, because you can get. It's always great when you know the catalyst before it happens. But yeah, Paul's my penny guy. He reads as many filings as I do, and he's better than me in some aspects of that. So check out his YouTube channel, Paul's Portfolio. Follow him on Twitter. But yeah, this is just like a small video going over stuff of like how I trade pre-market. Oh, and for those of you in the Discord, like, let's just take UUU for example. I traded here to here, sold. I bought here, probably traded to here and sold. By that time, I've already made my daily goal. I'm not really in the ticker anymore, because I know that usually, and I've said this many times in the Discord, how many times have you seen since last October to December, when everything was really hot, a ticker like halt up immediately at open, or have immediate continuation at open? Hasn't really happened. So like by 9 a.m., look at that. Remember what I said earlier? 9 a.m. is when people leave, and when I stop playing news, what was the high? 8:55, and then what? Only down all the way until about 10 a.m. Then we go up. So why would I hold all the way down? I don't want to do that, because because there's no guarantee that it bounces here. What if it just knifes down and then halts down here? I lost all the money because I didn't take profit. You can't go broke taking a profit. So, but yeah, we had some questions from the chat. How do you find gap fills? I think, what was the ticker that had a gap fill? It was the one the moon was on, AIHS. This is what I mean by gap fills. Price was all the way down here, right? There is no candle connecting. I'm going to use the bottom this way. Here to here has not been filled. This area has not been filled, right? It's just like a blank area at this point. So that's a gap fill. I had it at 870, but I guess I should have zoomed out a little bit more because, oh, what do you have it? What was the high of day on AIHS? 826. That's 829. That's close enough. They filled the gap. They filled the gap basically. So like that's like an important thing to know because like look, they filled the gap. Is it the highest volume candle? Yeah. Highest volume 5-minute candle of the day was on the gap fill. And then whoever was pushing it said, all right, I'm out. Peace. I'm out of here. What's it done since? Only down. So like that's why you need to pay attention to gap fills, especially on news runners. What do you look for on tape to enter a stock? I want to see volume. I want to see volume that's like green. Because green means that the price is trading above the last quote price that traded. So, like, let's just look at UUU. I thought the news was good. This is kind of, maybe this is not, oh no, this is a pretty good example. So like I'm buying in here, right? The candles are red, but I constantly see buying and the sells are small. So I know that someone is soaking. And then eventually you get a bigger volume candle that starts to push through these red candles. I guess ideally if you wanted to be safe, you should have waited until it like broke this high and then pulled back, which would ironically be like right here. You broke through this high. You broke through this high, micro pullback into this area because you're retesting the prior resistance as support, and then boom, you could have made 30% off that alone if you wanted to be safe. But I knew that the news was good, so I was buying down here, and then I was just holding because I'd rather be in low. If I know news is good, I'd rather just slap immediately, be in low, and then I can hold for longer because I have a lower average. And if I know that the volume is good and that the catalyst is good, I'm more confident in holding. So, but yeah, for anyone that's never traded small caps or you don't know anything about stockonomics, join the Discord at discord.gg/stockonomics. We have a good time every day. We do live trading every day. And obviously we don't need you, but we will offer our advice, I guess, while we trade, because we're full-time traders, and there are a lot of people that want to become full-time traders, and it's kind of hard if you're not, if you're a beginner trader and it's hard when, because most people are beginner traders or have traded a while but have not been able to get to the point where like me, Trippy, Whoopty, SWK are at, whoever else. To them, I'd say don't compare yourself to us, because it's like I'm in. Like if you were reading a book that had 50 chapters, maybe I'm at chapter 40 and you're at chapter 3. So like you can't expect to be where I am if I'm at chapter 40 if you've only read the chapter 3. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, and having guidance on stuff like this is not like, it's not like something to be ashamed about or feel like you shouldn't have to do this. Dude, we've all been through the ringer, and we are put through the ringer every day. Just because I'm a full-time trader doesn't mean I don't lose. I lose every day. Stuff that I think is going to go doesn't go. And people in Discord will tell you, if they follow what I do, I get bagged. But the thing is, I'm right more than I'm wrong, and I know when to cut to where I'm minimizing my losses. If I realize I'm wrong, I'm just going to cut. I don't care. If I realize I'm wrong, I'm going to cut. Doesn't matter what the loss is. Because why would I hold a loser down? That's another thing that like people have to get through their heads. You'll hold a loser down and you'll average down, right? But you won't hold a winner up and you won't average up. So something that you know is going up and you know it's going to go higher and it looks like it's going to go higher, you're scared to hold that one up, but you're not scared to hold it down when you're down 20% or to add more when you're down 20% because you're hoping, you have hopium that it's going to go back up and you're going to get saved. So like think about that next time you're averaging down. I don't average down. It's either I'm right or I'm wrong. But yeah, this first video I've ever done, I've probably rambled beyond belief, and maybe this has helped you guys, maybe it hasn't. Maybe I do something else like this in the future, but I just had a lot of people asking me if I could just like explain like what I do in pre-market and my thought process. So that's that. And if you want to listen to us live trade every day, we will be here at Stockonomics Discord, discord.gg/Stockonomics. I start up the live at like 6:57 in the morning Eastern Standard Time to be ready for the 7 a.m. news drop. And then usually I'm there till about 10:30. And then I leave for the day until about 4 p.m. because, like I said, I mainly trade pre-market and after hours. If you're a new trader and you are not used to small caps and you just kind of want to see like what's going on, I recommend watching Warrior Trading on YouTube. Ross Cameron. Ross is a really good trader, verified 8-figure trader in profits, and he's trading the same type of stuff that we're trading, and he makes recap videos every day. So if you want something like that, go check out Ross. But yeah, join the Discord, follow us on Twitter. If you join, good. If you don't, doesn't matter. But yeah, you guys have a good day.